The night was a canvas of inky black, stretched taut over a desolate highway, somewhere deep in the American heartland. Rain lashed against windshields, a rhythmic drumming that usually lulled drivers into a trance. But tonight, something felt different. A few scattered vehicles, mostly long-haul trucks and weary travelers, pressed on through the storm, their headlights cutting through the thick, wet air. Suddenly, a flicker in the sky, not lightning, but a silent, unnatural glow that caught the eye of a truck driver named Frank. He squinted, dismissing it as a trick of the light, perhaps a distant aircraft, but the glow intensified, growing larger, closer. Other drivers, too, began to notice, their eyes drawn upwards from the monotonous road to the impossible sight unfolding above them. A massive, silent craft, perfectly circular and obsidian black, now hovered directly over the highway, its underside emitting a soft, eerie cyan luminescence. Engines sputtered, radios crackled with static, and the air grew heavy with an inexplicable pressure, a palpable sense of dread. Then, from the center of the craft, a single, blinding beam of pure white light erupted, piercing the stormy night and striking the asphalt. The beam swept across the highway, illuminating vehicles with an unnatural intensity, revealing every detail of their metallic surfaces and the glistening wet road. Drivers slammed on their brakes, tires screeching on the wet pavement, creating a cacophony of fear and confusion. A young couple, Sarah and Mark, in their sedan, watched in horror as the beam enveloped the car directly in front of them. The vehicle seemed to shimmer, its contours distorting slightly, before the light moved on, leaving it seemingly unharmed but its occupants undoubtedly shaken. Panic erupted. Some drivers tried to reverse. Others attempted U-turns, creating a dangerous gridlock under the hovering anomaly. Frank, the truck driver, gripped his steering wheel, his heart pounding, as he watched the impossible spectacle unfold. He knew he had to get out, to warn others, but the sheer terror rooted him to his seat. The beam returned, this time focusing on a small sedan near the shoulder, its occupants frozen in fear. A sudden, high-pitched hum vibrated through the air, felt more than heard, rattling the very bones of those trapped below. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the beam retracted, and the UFO began to ascend, its cyan glow fading as it rose into the stormy clouds. Silence descended, broken only by the patter of rain and the ragged breaths of the terrified drivers. Slowly, hesitantly, engines restarted, and cars began to move, a collective, unspoken agreement to escape the nightmare they had just witnessed. Frank drove for miles in stunned silence. The image of the hovering craft burned into his memory. He tried to rationalize it, to find a logical explanation, but his mind kept returning to the impossible. Sarah and Mark clung to each other, their shared terror forging an unbreakable bond. They knew what they saw, but who would believe them? How could they explain such an encounter? News reports the next day were vague, mentioning unusual atmospheric phenomena and scattered power outages in the area. No official explanation truly captured the terror, the awe, or the profound sense of insignificance they had felt. The drivers who witnessed the event carried a secret, a shared trauma that bound them together in an invisible fraternity. They knew the truth of what happened on that dark highway, a truth far stranger than any fiction.